Now we'll go on to the next one, and this is going to be a very interesting one as well. Civilian oversight of police surveillance technology. And Shahid Bouter will present this. Shahid?
Great to be with you all today. Thanks for having me, and thanks to all of you for being here. I am not going to address you in my capacity as the Electronic Frontier Foundation's Director of Grassroots Advocacy. I'm here in my individual capacity as a candidate for the 12th Congressional District seat, challenging Pelosi for her seat in the House. Many thanks for your support. So I'm going to talk about a reform that has been adopted now in 10 different jurisdictions around the country, including nearly half a dozen across the Bay Area alone. It's passed the state Senate twice, only to die without votes before the Assembly's Appropriations Committee. Think about this as a wedge to prevent executive secrecy from ending opportunities to stop the flood of surveillance technologies into our local police departments. People have heard about the Snowden revelations, right? Okay, so those are federal intelligence agencies. The local police departments and sheriff's departments around the country have 2 orders of magnitude more human resources than their federal counterparts, and the metastasis of mass surveillance across local and state police departments represents the sharpest way that these technologies are finding their way into your community. Some examples of these technologies include automatic license plate readers, which basically create a government time machine through which you can rewind the clock and see who was at the Union Hall for the meeting before whatever action might have gotten planned, right? Stingray devices, cell site simulators, these are tools that spy on cell phone networks. It was a decade after they were first used by police departments that any civilian actors, including city council people and judges, ever discovered they existed. Aerial surveillance drones, LiDAR devices, shot spotter devices, there's a million of these, and they will only continue to proliferate. At the moment, where in the vast majority of jurisdictions around the country that have not adopted this reform model, police departments can contract with federal granting agencies, the tech hits the street, no one ever knows until there's a scandal, or if somebody happens to write an opportune CPA request, a public records request. This reform, which is passed in Oakland and Berkeley and before the BART Board and the Santa Clara County Board and also the City Council of Palo Alto, essentially creates a process for civilian oversight. It forces law enforcement agencies to document the security rationale. Why does our community need this fancy, often military spy technology in our community? It also forces the law enforcement agency to document the impacts on privacy and dissent. Most importantly, it requires public notice and an opportunity for comment before the elected body is called on to approve or reject the request. So this puts into your hands the authority to approve or deny these law enforcement requests for surveillance technology that otherwise no one ever sees. It also sets up annual auditing procedures. I don't want to pretend that this is the panacea, frankly. There are stronger reforms, the most recent of which, introduced in San Francisco, I think there's a hearing on April 15th, includes an absolute ban on the use of facial recognition technology by law enforcement. Happy to answer any questions tomorrow morning. Thank you for the time, and we look forward to taking this campaign to a community near you.
All right. Great proposal. Now, the next proposal is support for California Public Banking Alliance Bill AB 857. And I know we have a couple people here from the bill, and I guess it's going to be David that's going to present. All right, David Jetty.
All right, everyone, I won't take very much of your time because I've already had some of my own, but I wanted to propose that the Alliance consider supporting AB 857. It is a bill it's a common sense financial reform bill that clarifies the definition of a public bank as a bank wholly owned by the public with no private capital. It also requires that those banks be managed according to an explicitly stated social purpose, and that all of its lending and investment activity be measured in not only in how much profit it can make taxpayers and save their money and protect their money, but also how it's going to impact their environment, their lives, and equality. It will create a basic framework for those banks to be founded. It does not define the form of the individual bank, does not set the priorities of individual banks. That will still be up to you as local organizers who care about things like affordable housing and climate change mitigation and racial justice. So this is a bill that will create a framework for local, municipal, and county level banks. And it is currently going through the legislature. It will be in front of the Banking and Finance Committee on April 22nd, in front of the Local Government Committee on April 24th. If you have representatives who are on those committees, please call them today and tell them that you support AB 857 in public banks in California. Call your representatives anyway, regardless if they're in these committees. But you can, you have a couple more weeks for that. And of course, we'd love your support as an alliance. So if you have any questions, please contact me. You can reach us at CaliforniaPublicBankingAlliance.org. You can find me on Twitter. I'm pretty easy to get to. And Susan's going to be here longer than I am too, and she can answer any questions you might have. Thanks.
So the next proposal is the LA Campaign for Criminal Justice Reform. Is Whitney Lay here? There he is. So this was submitted by Kat Brooks, many of you know, from Oakland. Whitney has graciously, she couldn't make it, has graciously agreed to present on Kat's behalf. So Whitney?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And my name's Whitney Lay, and as Gail indicated, I was given a chance to bring this proposal. I'm from San Francisco, not from LA, but I want to talk to you a little bit about these proposals, and I'll be as brief as I can. This is the proposal to support the campaign for LA criminal justice reform, and you can find information about this at reformlajails.com. There are two fundamental parts of this proposal. The first part of this proposal is to amend and modify the LA County Sheriff's Department Civilian Oversight Commission to give it the subpoena power to effectively investigate and independently address misconduct. I don't know how many of you are familiar with civilian oversight boards, but in a lot of counties in California, these are the places where accusations or claims about misconduct by police go to die. And that's because these are organizations that are toothless and have no power to make any effective recommendations, and certainly have no power to sanction police misconduct, and often can't even effectively investigate it. So this is an important proposal that would do what might seem very modest, which is to simply give these organizations the opportunity and ability to obtain evidence, but in the lives and in the reality, given our current system, this is a bold and could be a very serious change, and certainly to the police, they take it very seriously. And this is something that I think that you should all take an opportunity to look at and support. The second component to this proposal is to create a commission to investigate different means of reducing incarceration. This is reducing incarceration in the LA County Jail, which is in the county jail system, which is the largest county jail system in California and one of the biggest in the country. And one of the things we've seen recently, not just in California but across the country, is that there's been a real change in public opinion, even among people who are not conservative, who are not progressive, in the way they see criminal justice, and things that were previously seen as unthinkable are now being considered. Things like reversing the death penalty, things like bail reform, where people are, issues like these were off the table for many years. And so, these, whenever one says I want to create a commission, I often glaze over. But these are principles that have to be codified. And they get codified because there are organizations that are willing to put in the time to write them down and to create the proposals. That's the second part of this proposal. And although I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of other criminal justice issues that I hope people at least are keep being aware of. Shirley Weber has instituted some legislation which could change the current standard by which police misconduct, police shooting is being addressed. Right now, the police aren't subject to the same self-defense rules that the rest of us are. They can shoot anyone who they think is quote, committing a felony. And Shirley Weber's got legislation pending right now that would affect that and would essentially put police on the same footing that anyone else is, which is you can use deadly force in self-defense, but not unless you're in imminent danger. I'd love to say more, but I just hope you guys have a chance to take a look at this proposal. Again, this is at reformlajails.com. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Whitney. I definitely encourage you all to check out the proposal. I just want to mention Kat Brooks is from Oakland who submitted this, but she's connected with people from LA. It's also part of the Black Lives Matter movement is promoting this. So it's it's a really, really important thing, and it would really make a difference not only for LA but other cities and areas will. And could follow suit. All right, next proposal, let me find it here, is support for universal social housing. And I know I'm not going to be able to pronounce your name right. I'm going to try Bosit? Okay, you're going to say your name again so people will know. Okay, please come up to the podium. Let's give him a round.
All right. Great. Thank you so much, Gail. So my name is Laksh. I'm a member of the San Francisco Bernie-crats. I'm here to present a resolution. It's on behalf of the Bernie-crats and the Green Party in San Francisco for universal social housing. So as probably everybody in this room knows, we have a crisis of affordable housing in California. We feel it very strongly in the Bay Area. And what it stems from is the fact that our private market has a guarantee for profit, but it doesn't have a guarantee for affordability. There's no right to shelter. It's not enshrined anywhere. And public housing has been dismantled systematically by Reaganomics, by defunding of HUD, and by privatization. In San Francisco alone, all of our public housing has been privatized under an Obama-era program known as RAD, Rental Assistance Demonstration. And now we've had several tech booms. Now we're going to have the IPOs of all these new tech companies, Uber, Lyft, etc., that are going to just increase the amount of wealth inequality and make it almost impossible for anybody to really afford to live in San Francisco. So that's why we're going to tax those corporations, and we are going to fund the acquisition and construction of publicly owned, publicly managed, unionized labor, affordable housing, and we're calling it social housing for short. And we are going to put this forward, and it is likely going to be on the 2020 ballot in San Francisco. And we were really glad when we ran a campaign. We started to run a campaign in 2018. We suspended it early. We had the support then of Gail, of Robert Reich, of the Harvey Milk Democratic Club, the Green Party. And so we're bringing it over here to the California Progressive Alliance so that we can start to think about this not only in the Bay Area, but across the state. The point I want to make is that we think very clearly about Social Security is a universal program. Medicare for All is a universal program. We can do the same thing with public housing. We can make it so that in individual cities they can figure out how many units they want for low-income, moderate-income folks. In San Francisco, we have a particular need for low and moderate-income and very low-income tenants. And the main parts of this proposal I wanted to highlight are there's a rent cap in the proposal that we've put forward, a quarter of your income. That's what it used to be before the standard was raised to 30% of income for affordability. And it's not just housing. There are amenities nearby, childcare centers so you can drop off your kids. And we were talking earlier about the Green New Deal. And a big component of that is public transit near where you live and to the places that you need to go. So one thing that we've included in our proposal is funding for rapid public transit you can actually use to get to work on time in close proximity to the housing. Another really important part of this proposal is the idea of tenants associations. Community councils is what we call them in the legislation. And these are bodies of tenants elected by tenants in neighborhoods that can really advocate for their interests. And one thing that they can do, in the same way a labor union can call for a strike, a tenants association can call for a rent strike if the needs of the tenants are not being met. And that is something that I want to shout out to SB 529 that's being organized on the statewide level for allowing tenants associations to form and strike by withholding their rent. It's a model that's working in San Francisco to some extent with preserving the quality of Midtown, which is a city-owned housing complex in the city. So in terms of our main asks, there are a couple of things. Obviously, we have this proposal. It's out on the desk in front. We'd like everybody here to support it. We are on Facebook as well. We are the San Francisco Community Housing Act, but we are looking to build a broader coalition across the state. In terms of specific legislation, anybody in this audience know about Article 34 of the California Constitution? 2 people. Okay, Article 34 of the California Constitution is one of the most classist and racist pieces of legislation from the 1950s that says that any low-rent public housing has to go to the ballot to be approved by voters, and it was put forward to obstruct public housing. We need to get rid of that. There's a state constitutional amendment, SCA 1, that might be on the 2020 ballot. It's in the legislature. We need to repeal Article 34 so that we can create the public housing we need up and down the state. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laksh. Obviously, housing, low income, very low income, moderate is so important for our state and our nation.